It's dark today. How y'all doing? Ellie heard me. Have y'all just a couple minutes to come on? I'm a little bit early. Just a tad early. How y'all doing? Chat with me when you get here. I'm sitting at my desk picking up a few things. I sat down and realized how my bookcases look. So I need to straighten them up. I've got 3 things of studies and faith. Welcome, Dad.
What?
I was just saying, is that you?
Oh,
You tired?
I'm just drenched. Sweat and rain.
I'd say you are. I'm waiting for a couple people to come on. Hey, thank you for praying. We'll take all the prayers we can get. That is faux show. And sometimes prayers mean the most. You're in the middle of the storms in life and in literal. Sometimes it's hard to find the words. So we appreciate it. Hey, Julie. Well, praying for you too, my friend. I hope you're safe. I hope you're with your daughter or they're with you, one or the other. I'm just sitting here straightening out my desk a little bit. Lockham Dad is working his tushy off. I need new batteries. Hey, guys. I'll tell you what we've already been up to this morning. Goodness gracious. All right. Well, we've got a couple people on. It's so funny. People have never been through a storm like this. They can be so ugly, and I'll never understand it. You know, it's just, someone said it's just a little wind and rain. And then another lady said this morning, you should have already evacuated, an exclamation mark. And I said, well, let me tell you. So you're telling me I should leave my homestead, I should leave my business, and you got the money for us to do that? I said, besides, people are counting on us to clean up them after flooding. And then she goes, whoa, somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. I'm like, somebody commented ugliness on. I got light. Somebody commented ugliness this morning. Are you kidding me? It's so funny how people can be. Instead of just, hey, praying for you. Nope, we can't do that. We have to put our 2 cents in it and not know what it's like to go through this. A little wind and rain. And then other people are like, I don't get it. There's always so much hype. It's not going to happen. And it's like, guys, it's like at the seashore. It's about to make landfall. So yeah, I believe it, because we don't usually start doing everything until last minute. So last time it was supposed to head toward us, and I had done quite a bit. I have a room downstairs, excuse me. It's my Cincy room. If you've ever been to my house, it's got some chairs and a TV, and then it's got all my Cincy stuff. And that a lot of stuff's lower on the ground, and if anything's going to flood, it would be that room, because we've got a French drain that goes around the house. We have the French drain has a pump inside, and then it gets pumped out into wetlands. And last time we did flood because of them having the wetlands, the neighbors in the back having the wetlands all clogged up, and they've made a pond, which is illegal, but nobody does anything about it. Anyway, we finally got it unclogged after 5 days, and you just never know what's going to happen, and that's the only place that would really flood. So I got everything up like 2 feet up yesterday, bottom shelves of because I've got shelves with Scentsy warmers and just all kinds of stuff. So I got everything up, and things were on the ground, everything up, and in the closet, because there's a closet, and then in the room, But then Lockham Dad went down. I guess I didn't do a good enough job. He wanted everything out, everything. So he literally brought up my chairs, because they're cute little chairs. I bought these cute little gingham chairs to put in there. Chairs, and he emptied the closet out and brought up the whole fixtures of the closet and everything. So, which is good. I'm gonna go and organize it in a few minutes. So that's going to be my little project today. I'm going to go make us a big old thing of chicken salad so we can kind of have that to eat on. The only thing, we're probably going to lose power. Most of us are. So someone asked, was it like to hunker down? So a few things, when it starts getting really close like this, thank goodness we have a little bit of time, but who knows when we might start losing power. A big gust of wind or rain could change that. So we're filling up water bottles, the bathtub, because the bathtub will be great for if you've got to go to the bathroom. The thing about us is we're a little different from most, is if we lose power, we lose water because our well. So we won't have any water either. So we'll have to pour. And then if we do lose power and it goes over a few hours, I'm going to go ahead and start taking stuff to the camper from the fridge. So we're doing that. And then Dad is in the garage getting things up, because like I said, if anything's going to flood, the basement and the garage are right next to each other. So it's going to be that. So he's doing that. He's bringing some things to the porch. Some things are going to his shop. He has a shop. So hunkering down, you would take your patio furniture and either tie it down, throw it in your pool, put it away, whatever. We put a ton of stuff in our garage the last hurricane, Irma, that came through, and our garage flooded. So we took it all to the garage, hoping everything would be safe, and then the garage floods. So that was for nothing. Then I think he's like taking the kayaks and setting them down, because those are outside, leaned up against the wall. He is, let's see, we already went out to the chickens this morning. We've got one window shut that's on the outside of the coop. The one going to the run we've left open to give them some air, and then we shut up their coop, so they can't come out. And nothing can go in there. So we've done that. Lockham just went around the whole house picking things up, anything that could fly or take off or break a window or whatever. And then now he's got to go and get equipment ready for when they call him for floods, because we'll probably start getting phone calls as soon as it passes over. And it's going to be a busy few days. That is for sure, busy few days. So it's kind of nerve-wracking knowing what's to come. And then today I have to work a new product drops with Cincy. So I've got orders I got to put in. So I'm going to be working that today, and it's just going to be, it's going to be something else. So we've got a lot to do, and it's going to be in a short amount of time. So we'll definitely be busy. That is for sure. Oh my gosh. So that's kind of what's going on. And that's how you hunker down for the hurricane. It's not huge. Just make sure things that can't fly, potted plants outside, you maybe secure them. If you have anything on like wind chimes, stuff like that, you want to take those down, because things can just end up all over the place when that wind starts going. If you got any trees that you're trying to protect or something, you might want to tie them down. Like smaller tree, like we have a bunch of fruit trees. I've already tied all those down, did that a couple of months ago. So anything that can fly, anything that can take off and be a projectile, you don't want to get hurt. You may want to bring it inside or in the garage, or but I mean, now's the time to kind of panic, because it's definitely hitting us. And it's so funny, people that don't live in Florida, we're used to it. We're not used to this caliber of a storm, but we are used to storms being in Florida. And we get ready, and sometimes it's funny because people will say, it's all hype. Well, when a storm is scheduled to come toward you and it turns, that's not hype. That's being safe. And so then now the next community's got to worry about it, or the next state, or whatever it is. And it's not hype when you've got a big category 3+, even a category 1, a ton of damage. But if you got something 3+, that's going to be a lot of damage. And so that's not hype at all. And I mean, the weathermen can't help it if it doesn't end up coming to us. People prepared and now they've got a nice stock of stuff. So either eat it all at once or they hold off on it. And I always say too, it's better to laugh than to cry. And so I always try to make jokes or something when we're having to deal with things like this. So that's why I post the memes and stuff. But some people can be just super ugly. I do a hurricane over snow and blizzard anytime, and it's like, you're sure about that? Are you sure? It's my second cup, and this is a big one. That's a two-hander cup. Lots of coffee today. Hopefully, if we have power. I do have my last load of laundry in. That's another thing. You want to make sure you get all your laundry done, because if you're without power or water or both for a few days, you want to make sure everything's done so you don't have to turn your underwear inside out. And so I've got the last load. I did like 5 loads yesterday, and I've got the last load in today. And I do things a lot different when I do laundry. I don't know if anybody else is like this, but the dryer tends to shrink everything. And I take everything and put in there that can't be shrunk: undies, socks, shorts, whatever. And I put them in the dryer. Everything else I hang up in my laundry room. I have hooks everywhere, so I hang it all up. And then when that's dry, I take them and put them in on just a wrinkle control. So it basically just tosses them, and it's warm, and it's just enough to finish drying them off, and I don't have a shrinkage problem. So that's how I do all of our shirts, my pants, stuff like that, so that we don't have a shrinking problem. And that should be a song. And so I did all that yesterday, which takes quite a bit of time. And Lockhome Dad, poor man, has been working hard. He's went through a ton of shirts this week, and he wears T-shirts for the most part because he can change them out. They get wet, and he keeps 2 or 3 in his truck. So if he's out working, he'll just change it out to a new T-shirt, or maybe he goes into a home of sellers, and that light keeps getting on me, and he ends up smelling like smoke. He can change out his T-shirt. And he has one lady, he literally comes home and takes a shower after he cleans her place, because her whole place is not only does she smoke, but they like it's a lot, and it's closed up, so he comes out smelling pretty bad. And then the laundry cleaning, I've been cleaning, although Welcome Dad's just made me another mess in there. He didn't make me a mess. He brought everything up from the basement. So, and I can't do too often, which I overdid yesterday. So I'm like in a lot of pain today. And if you hear me catching my breath a little bit, that's because I got little twitches. I about sneezed earlier, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to break a rib if I sneeze, because I think I already might have cracked one. And so I was trying so hard not to sneeze, and it ended up being a baby sneeze. I was like, okay, I can deal with that. But it's just been our last, 48 hours. We've just been, as soon as we realized how super serious this one was, heading toward us. And even if, it's not heading right from us, there were some things I could go ahead and do and get them over with. But now we find out that it is definitely heading for us. It should be making landfall by early afternoon. And actually Captiva, which is where we just got back from. If you guys followed us, that's where we were. Captiva and Sanibel. So that's right near Fort Myers, Florida. So it's south of Tampa. They thought it was going to head toward Tampa, and then it actually changed and went north a little bit. It was going to be in the armpit of Florida. And now it's back at Fort Myers area. And that's definitely where it's going to be. I mean, it would be very odd if it changed course now, which it could, but it's definitely hitting the Captiva Sanibel area, and that it's beautiful there. But 1921, I think it was, there was a hurricane. They didn't name hurricanes until the 50s, so there was no name for that hurricane, and I think it was the 50s when they started naming them, and that's actually how Captiva split. There's actually a split in between Captiva and North Captiva. And so, I mean, it's a good split. You need a boat. You can't just walk over there, and it's really deep. There's a channel now in between, and that hurricane had come through. And I think another one had followed not too long after that. And that one came through, and it split the islands, and now it's in 2 spots. So North Captiva, not that Captiva itself isn't full of fancy smancy $1 million homes. There's lots of businesses there, but North Captiva is absolutely fancy smancy. You've got multi-million dollar homes. There's a resort there. There's no vehicles on that island. It doesn't support that, the infrastructure on the island. And plus it's very small. It's not huge at all. You could walk from one end of the island to the other probably in an hour or so. So there's no vehicles. It's just golf carts, bicycles, stuff like that. And that is how it ended up getting split, was a hurricane. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, that happens. And then what was really cool is when we went, one of the things I didn't talk about when we went on the little ferry over to, we ended up at North Captiva for ice cream. But there is 5 homes on pilings out in the Gulf there. And those homes were taken out, I think, it was when the 3 hurricanes came through that time, I believe. I've taken it completely. Now they did have the piling stayed, so the pilings are super strong. Well, all of them rebuilt, and what they were kind of like fishing houses and ice, and one of them was an ice house back in the day. And they would come there, restock, drop things off, get ice, whatever they needed, and be on their way. Different boats and stuff would. And so it was very important to Florida's cycle of fishery and for the boaters and everything. So when the hurricanes came, they rebuilt. Now the state of Florida came back and said, you can't rebuild. That's it. It's against the law. You got to have permission, and we're not giving permission. And they sued them. State of Florida sued the homeowners. Well, if your home is more than 50% damaged, you have to call it a wash and either rebuild or it's got to go. So Florida did not want them rebuilding because there's the homes just sitting out in the Gulf. And they took them to court. Well, the homeowners decided to fight it because it's a legacy. I mean, it's a historical legacy. Well, the judge actually sided with the homeowners because they said that those pilings were worth more than the structure, which is true. I think if I'm not mistaken, he said each piling was worth like $25,000. So, I mean, it's a lot of pilings to hold up a home structure in the Gulf. And so the judge agreed with them that, and of course, that was more valuable than the home itself. They had already rebuilt. So they kept it the way it is, but there was a stipulation that the state of Florida wanted. First of all, they're on the National Historic Registry. Second of all, they cannot sell it. It can be passed down, inherited, but it cannot be sold. And then third, they can't even like rent it out for vacation, like Airbnb or something. So the captains of the ferry were saying that every once in a while you'll see people there hanging out, fishing. I mean, it would be a nice little vacation spot to go to. Who can say they vacation in the middle of the Gulf like that? I mean, literally in the middle of the Gulf. You'd have to bring everything with you, all your supplies. And I think it's generator and solar powered, the homes are. And they're really just basically, like I said, kind of fishing cabins. I think they're very fancy. They didn't look fancy. Couldn't see inside, but they didn't look fancy. So it was kind of neat to see that we still have a bit of history, and that the judge aired on the side of the homeowners, and that now that's kind of a legacy they're going to be able to leave. So that was kind of cool. And and you see it every once in a while. You'll see structures out in the middle of the ocean, and I'm assuming that they were able to do that before the laws and stuff were passed. So that's kind of neat. And there's of course some little islands that people either run their boats up to and hang out at, or maybe they're a private island, or maybe like the one that we went to is a state park. And I'm sure they're all going to get hit really hard. The Keys this morning, of course, that came through while most of them were sleeping, and there's a lot of devastation that people were wading through in waist-high water. Things are just floating. Cars are, up to halfway through the windows. It just sounds pretty bad. And of course, we'll be seeing more of it coming out as the storm goes on. Right now, it's raining steady, but that's fans of the hurricane coming through. So it'll rain steady, and then you might get a tiny little break, and then it'll start raining again. But like I said, it's supposed to hit about 2, the coast. So we'll be getting a lot, like it'll probably be 100% rain by then for us because those bands will be wider and bigger. And so right now it's just the outer bands that we're getting right now. So it's neat, and it's scary at the same time. And like I said, if I don't laugh, I'll cry because I know what's coming. We're definitely going, I'm positive we're going to lose power if it is as big as what they're saying. Last update, it was 150 miles an hour. That's a category 4. When it hits 156, that's category 5. And they're all predicting that it's going to hit 6. What happens is I know what happens is a lot. The hurricane goes into the Gulf, and the Gulf is extremely warm waters, and that's literally like fuel for the hurricanes. So it just makes it bigger and larger and faster. And so when it hits land, though, it is going to slow down. So by the time it gets to us, we should be a category 1 or 2. It may be 3. I don't know. It just depends on what happens in the next couple of hours. And so you never know. They're very unpredictable, but it's funny because people are like, you should have evacuated, and we're not on the coast. Yes, we're going to get a lot of rains and high winds and everything. We do have a safe space. We've got our basement downstairs, so if we have to, we'll head down there. There's no wind or anything, so I'm not worried about that. We have a closet that has no windows, but other than that, that's the only space in our home that we would be able to go to. So we'll head down to the basement and just kind of sit and wait and see what happens if we have to, if we start getting tornado warnings, or if, the winds start getting really high. We went down during Irma to the basement until we started flooding. And once we started flooding, we had to come out of the basement. So that was really kind of eerie. But that's our next step is that's why Lock Home Dad wanted to get the whole thing all cleaned up, because we just got a lot to worry about in the next little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what the outcome is and come out. Usually this happens, like Irma was in the middle of the night, so you couldn't really see the devastation until we woke up and walked out the next morning. So that was really difficult to walk out and see. And our property was pretty torn up. Nothing was really destroyed. The house itself was still, fine. It's just our flooding downstairs. The property had so much debris and limbs; it was overwhelming. And a bunch of people came together and showed up and helped us clean up our yard on Saturday in my business. And so we got that all cleaned up. So that was kind of neat. And it's just amazing that how the community comes together. Someone had put on one of my posts earlier. I read y'all's comments. I might not get to comment back because sometimes it's a lot, but I do read y'all's comments. And one of them was during one of the hurricanes that everybody came together, and it like destroyed their little community, but everybody came together doing stuff for each other, and that really brought everyone together. And I hate that it takes a tragedy to bring people together, but sometimes that's exactly what it does. And this will be the first storm for our doggies, so I'm curious on how they're going to react. And I'm positive we're going to have winds blowing. Daisy's a little scaredy cat. Ellie will probably just get excited and wag all over the place. Daisy gets kind of nervous and she kind of hides and stuff. You can't even get mad at her. She goes and runs into her kennel. So I'm curious. Now thanks. I appreciate that, Camperman. But of course, we've never been through something like this with them. So it'll be interesting on what happens next.
We just got our first little gust of wind.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
What did it do?
It was just like a normal thunderstorm where the trees sway a little bit.
Oh, did they? That's probably the scariest part. Is our pine trees are made to kind of sway. Of course, they can break off, but what kind of pines are these? Sand pines? Sand pines?
I don't remember.
The type of pine tree, they're really tall, but they do sway. And as a matter of fact, from the last storm, a lot of our trees are like this, especially if they were little. When it happened, the storm, when the 3 came through, oh my goodness, Lock Home Dad is soaked.
Yep.
Tower up around him. It was when the 3 storm came through, 2015, I believe. And a lot of our trees must have been little then. We didn't live here then. And so a lot of them are like this, our little trees. So I'm sure it bent them over and the homeowner didn't put them back. So a lot of them are like that. But the pine trees will definitely do that too, because they're tall and skinny. So if they're constantly being pushed and they shift their roots, they'll end up like this. And you can go down our interstates when you enter Florida. If you notice a thing of pine trees like this, now especially down south, when we were heading down to Fort Myers, you can definitely see where the winds have come through from the hurricanes and stuff. And that's probably the worst, is the winds. And of course, it's going to blow off any broken branches or any leaves or whatever. We'll end up with a ton of debris. I know that. And things will fall on things. And we've got one tree we're a little worried about in the back. If you've been with me long enough, we have this one tree that I call them, when they do this tree, that it's like a man with his head in the ground, because the legs are up like this. The tree's kind of split in two, but the trunk is one whole trunk. When we noticed after one storm, it was after a storm, right?
What?
I noticed the tree had split.
Yes.
Back there. Yeah. Was it Irma?
Yeah.
So I'm out one day, or I'm looking out the kitchen window. I see so much stuff out of that kitchen window, and I'm looking out and I'm like, that looks like a crack. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I went out and looked at it, and sure enough, it was cracked all the way through. And the one hadn't started leaning yet, but it was definitely a crack. Like you couldn't see a noticeable lean. And I think Log Home called someone or had someone look at it, and they said it's gonna come down. There's no saving it. And it did. It finally came down on its own. And it was, it's a huge oak tree. So it was bad. And so it came down. Log Home Dad got that all cut up, but we're pretty sure the other side of it is compromised. And when I say it's big, I truly mean this tree is huge. I wouldn't even guess how tall it is, but it is really big, probably 7,500 feet tall. It's really big. And maybe that's overkill, but it's probably one of the biggest ones on our property. And so that one worries me. And then also our sand here in Florida is sugar sand. So that's why a lot of times you'll see oak trees tumble over, and it'll bring the roots up, because our sand, the water starts coming in too fast and it just compromises the foundation of it, and then they'll tip over. We've had 3 oak trees on our property do that. 3. I know what 3 is. 3 do that and fall the stink over, but it's not ruined anything, thank goodness. And I don't think if this one came down, it might ruin the cabin pool. That would be sad. Since Log Home Dad's worked so hard, he just got the deck put up, so that would be kind of sad. It's out back near the cabin pool. So let's hope if it does fall, it falls in another direction. It could fall in my pineapple grove too, which could be very devastating. So we do have a couple of trees. We have a couple that are dead and they could fall, and that would be pretty bad. Get a Tesla powered wall. Oh God, don't make me laugh. I'm pretty sure I have a cracked rib. Oh my goodness. There was something last night. I forget what we were watching a movie last night, Log Home Dad and I. It's called The Last Laugh with Chevy Chase and Richard Dreyfuss. And there was a couple of scenes. I was like, I can't laugh. So I hadn't seen that one before. So that's a new one to us. And we watched that one last night. It was kind of silly, but sweet and made you cry. And, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, boy, I was shocked how old looking Richard Dreyfuss and Chevy Chase looks about the same, except he's got a little heavier and white hair now. But Richard Dreyfuss is really, really aged in the last little bit. So that was kind of surprising. But it was a good movie. It was a really good movie. So I'm glad we watched that one. We found some really good movies lately. There's one with Shirley MacLaine we watched called The Last Word. Man, was that a good movie. I'm shocked how good of a movie that was. We were both like, this is a good movie. That was a real good one. And then there was one on Paramount, and it was good. I can't think of the name of it. It's running right now, and that was a good one too. So we try to find these movies, and I'm shocked how many of them we haven't seen. But there was a period of our lives that we were so busy with our family that we didn't really see movies, and so now I'm like, this is during that period we just didn't pay attention to these. So that was nice. So it's nice to be able to pull up something on like Netflix, or we have Apple, and then we got Paramount. because of, 1883. You gotta have that, although 1883 is over now. I tell everybody, they're like, I'm not paying for it. And I'm like, do the free trial and binge watch it. If you know you got a weekend that's going to be chill, do the free trial and binge watch it and then cancel it. You'll get to see the whole thing. I'm like, y'all, come on now, think. So that'd be a good thing to binge watch this weekend if y'all have power. Because I think it's going to be gone. I think our power is going to go. And that's the worst part, is because, you got your fridge, and I was able to take a lot of stuff in our camper. It's powered by gas or electric, right? So if while we're going down the road, it switches from electric to gas. And that's really nice. So we don't lose anything if we're traveling or whatever. Although the temperature does go up a little bit just because of the heat on the camper while we're traveling. So it's a full size fridge. It's a residential fridge, but it's dual powered. And so if we do lose power and we realize it's going to be a little bit of time, I'm going to take everything down there. But I did that last time, and I was able to fit everything from the freezer, believe it or not, in there. But not the fridge, not everything from the fridge. The fridge isn't quite as big because it's not as tall. So this time I'm going to do the same, but I hate losing stuff. I'm sure I'll end up throwing away a bunch of stuff, but I hate losing stuff. So the first thing I'll put in is anything homemade, jams, my pickles and stuff like that. Those will go in unless we eat everything. And then, because we have, y'all, it's ridiculous. So when we bought this property, our kitchen was crazy. The whole house was very modern. You wouldn't even know it was a log home, to be honest with you. It was very, I want to say modern. It was a lot of brass and glass. And like the glass, the bucket lights that hang from the ceiling, and in the kitchen, they were these big brass, not log cabin. And the kitchen was a Formica top, white Formica top with a gold trim all the way around it, and the brass bucket light. And it was just, and underneath there's one counter. My kitchen's not very big, although it's bigger than our last house, but there's one counter. It's kind of long, and usually where I lay out, like when I do my cookies and stuff like that, because I can put my pans there and everything, and make no bakes and stuff. I can clear that area, scones, clear that area. And so it's a very long area that goes from a stand-up pantry to the cabinets over here, and there's nothing underneath it, but they had a wine cooler underneath it, and that thing was not cooling anyway. It should have been replaced. When we replaced it with a small fridge, like a beverage refrigerator, and then when we replaced the countertops, which it looks amazing now, we put in some granite countertops on the end next to the pantry. We put another cabinet because it's a long spot, probably 6 feet, if not maybe a little bit more, for granite to be on. And so we put the cabinet on the end, and now that's our junk drawer and a slide out for garbage and recyclables. So that's really nice. But we did get a beverage cooler that goes in the center, and so that cooler is filled full of food, because that's where I usually put leftovers and maybe stuff and like dips and stuff like that. So that cooler is full. We have a cooler in our living room that's just beverage, and one in the bedroom just beverage. If I want to sparkling water in the middle of the night or whatever, I can have one. So those I'm not worried about, but I'll have to, not only our little beverage, we got our big old fridge that I'll have to empty out. Thank goodness we have, y'all got one of those. I love them. They're the collapsible wagons, and then they hold together by the handle. They're cloth, and then you let it go, and it's a full wagon. So we have that on our front porch. And when we come in groceries or something, we take it out. If I got to go, the FedEx and UPS has the code to our gate. And depending upon the FedEx driver, they usually don't even come in our property. So when I get my Scentsy boxes, they weigh usually around 40 pounds each. And if I get 3 or 4, I mean, that's a lot. It's even a lot to pull on a wagon. And there's no way I can carry 40 pounds to the house. So I take out the wagon and I load the wagon up, and I've put it in there. And it's so fun. We have this big old bench. I know y'all have seen them. They're like a Rubbermaid. They're from Sam's Club, and it's huge. It's got to be, I don't know, 4 feet long and like 2 or 3 feet tall. It's really big. It might be 5 feet long. I don't know. And that's where we have for packages. And it's funny to see them cram all that stuff in there, but yet they won't bring it to the door. I literally had a FedEx driver last month or month before last lay my packages on their sides, and they each weighed average of 40 pounds. 3 of them, I don't know how they got them all in. It was everything I could do to get one out, to get the other 2 out. I mean, it was so hard. It was hard on my back and everything, but that was just a lot. So we use that little wagon. So I'll probably bring the wagon in and put all the food in it and cart it out to the camper. I don't want to do it yet in case we don't go without power, because that's a lot of work, a lot of work. But maybe we'll have to look into the Tesla. I feel sorry for all the people that have them, and now they're having to evacuate. I can't imagine what the lines are going to be, because the lines at gas stations, a lot of gas stations around us have ran out of gas. They ran out of gas yesterday, and so like one lady was in our community, was on next door, and she's like, I can't find fuel. Have y'all found fuel? And someone's like, the closest I found it was in another city away, which would be like probably a good 30-minute drive with traffic. It's not very, it's like 15 miles probably, but with traffic, it would probably be about 30-minute drive. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe y'all waited till last minute. Locum Dad took our vehicles up a couple of days ago and filled them all up. But now he did have to work yesterday, so he had to stop on the way back in and fill up his work truck, because that's what he's going to be using with all the work we're going to have. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of stuff to do. It's going to be crazy. Last time was just a category, I want to say she was a 2 or 3 when, or Irma, when she hit, and we worked nonstop for 2 weeks. I mean, it was just crazy. And not only was our own house flooded and we couldn't do anything about it, we can't do anything. We were pumping and pumping. Our pumps were running 24 hours a day. Y'all, my electric bill that month was $1,200. And of course, the water heater was underwater. The air conditioners were underwater. Something else was underwater. I can't remember what it was, but our electric bill was $1,200. It was the saddest thing ever. And because that pump was running, we had 2 pumps 24 hours a day, and it was doing nothing. It didn't do anything until they unclogged the pond that they made. So, all right, guys. Well, I am on my allotted time. I have to go on so long every so often to try, or every day. It's supposed to be every day to get my views up so we can be monetized. So thank you all for hanging out with me. I hope if you're in Florida, you stay safe. And if you're not in Florida, if you'll pray for us, and if you'll give a thumbs up on the video, I appreciate that too, because that really helps with my placement on YouTube. So thank you guys. And we'll be live later. I'll be on my phone and be able to show you around a little bit and what's going on. But y'all take care. Bye, y'all.